My last 15 years, I've built and scaled 3 different startups in a row. 2 were acquired and 1 went public with the IPO. And right now, I'm building a billion-dollar tech company. In this video, I'm going to take everything I learned from those startups and hand you that experience. The truth is, everybody can build a successful startup with the right knowledge. I came from a poor village in China. I was the first child in my family to go to college and also the first woman in my village to go to college. With nobody to look up to, I felt alone. But I knew one thing. I did not want to end up like everyone else in my village. So I had no option but to figure it out. So no matter if you're just getting an idea or you're thinking about creating a startup, or maybe you already got a startup that you're thinking about that big exit or fundraising round, this video is for you. If you never started a company before, here's what you need to know before you dive in. Number one, a lot of people start with like tons of ideas and try to figure out what idea works. My advice to you is like, do not start with ideas. Start with a problem and validate before you build. Ideas change, but the problem is more fundamental. So when you're starting a startup, think about this rule of 4 P's: problem, product, people, and pricing. What problem can your business solve? For what kind of people, and using what kind of product or solution or service. And pricing is a short term for like go-to-market strategy. Right now the market is so crowded. What kind of price point, what kind of go-to-market channel, what kind of strategy or community engagement can you build to engage this audience? So now that you have figured out what problem you want to solve, before you build out the full-on product in a cave or go to a factory, order all your product and then pray that things will happen, the key thing is you always want to sell first and build later. There's a lot of ways you can test out small MVP to figure out if people are willing to pay for it. And if not, why is that reason? The true thing is vote with your wallet. If they're willing to pay money for pre-order or for something small that when you're ready to ship it, that's great. Once you have that, start with the MVP, minimal viable products. So cover the key things. Some of them might not be fully functional and some of them you might have to manually do it in a backend, but using that as a beginner to figure out what customer really want. And lastly, when you're doing market research or when you're in the market, you sometimes feel discouraging, like, oh my god, so many other companies have that, I have so many competitions. Competition means validation. It means what you are trying to build has a market and people are looking for this problem. So this is actually a good thing for you when you have a competition. Now the problem is, how do you stand out from a competition? If you're just having an idea or thinking about, I want to start a business, don't overthink, just get started. Just pick a problem, learn about how to solve the problem with the right product to the right people with the right go-to-market strategy, and just get started. If you're already working for a startup, you already have advantage. But here's what you need to do before you make that leap. There is a big difference between a startup employee, or even if you're a startup executive, you're not a co-founder, the mindset is quite different. Sure, a startup is very fast-paced and you're always constantly building this, but you don't have the uncertainty of the company on your shoulder. So I think it's really important to understand, coming from an employee mindset, to think more like a founder. If you are working in a startup, if you think like a founder before you become one, this totally change your kind of mindset, the way you do your day-to-day work and the way you interact with your team. So very important to switch your employee mindset to pretend like, what if I am the founder of this company? How would I do differently? The other thing I found from this part is like fundraising. As a startup employee, you have seen what great company look like, especially if you have a successful startup under your belt, which is in my case. Fundraising becomes an easier task for you because investors in the early stage don't care about your ideas, don't care about your product, they just invest in you as a person. So you have a success track record under your belt, it make it easier to fundraise. So because you have the option to fundraise doesn't mean you have to fundraise. So you really have to talk about your goal, what kind of milestone you want to achieve, what kind of company you want to make. Into this technology, it is possible to bootstrap without fundraising. But I would say if you're a first-time founder, or you're building something really big, or you're building something that's very crowded with a lot of conditions, fundraising will be better. And another thing for founders, for startup employees or executives who come from engineering background or product background, you might think about building a great product, great engineering is more important than anything, which is not true. Going back to the problem, product, people and pricing process. It is important to pick a product that really is a must-to-have product, solve a critical problem, and then with the right ICP. So those are very important, but also distribution, like your go-to-market strategy also matters sometimes more than the product. Another advantage for startup employees that if you're working in a space and you're working with the co-workers who are also going through the startup experience, they have a lot of ambitions, they have learned a lot. This is a good place to find your next co-founder, people that you just generally find enjoyable working with each other, people that have same ambitions as you, or people complement your skill set. So for example, if you are product engineering leaders, you might want to find people who are specialized in marketing or specialized in sales to be part of your co-founding team. You guys could test out working on a small project before going full-time to see how does it like to work together. How do you guys solve problems? When there's crisis involved, how do you solve them together as a team? So that's very, very critical. So the tip here is think like a founder and try to find partners that will actually help you find your next company using your startup ecosystem and make your current startup a wing, and then you can use that as a leverage to jump on to your next startup. Okay, so if you already have a side hustle but unsure if you should quit your job and start your own gig full-time, this is for you. Before you do that, I think it's very important to think about if you want to build a scalable business or make it like a lifestyle business. You are going full-time, but you are trying to make it manageable. And what's your goal in this? And sometimes I think about what's the difference between a lifestyle business and scalable real business? Is it just the difference in revenue? Is it just in the difference in the number of employees you hire? Or is it difference in solving problems? I think it's very important you think about what you want to achieve here. You know, if you're someone who doesn't like to manage a big team, you want to have a manageable business that generate great income, lifestyle business, it's really great, and you can figure out a way to scale your side hustles, make it sustainable so you can have a good lifestyle while making you sustainable income. If you're thinking about, I want to solve a big problem using my business, I want to leave a big dent in the universe before I go out, pick one of the biggest problems you want to solve, things that you really want to be proud of, associated, you're interested, you have some expertise on it, and then gain the knowledge in that. I think a lot of people who have side hustle that I see is their mindset is in like, oh, maybe I should work on the side hustle and then I will make it scalable and automate it and make it business. I don't think it that way. I'm thinking about entrepreneurship as a learning journey. Your side hustle is one of the class or semester you're taking in your long journey. It doesn't mean you had to be stick with this idea and grow the side hustle into family business or grow a side hustle into scalable large business. I think a lot of times the side hustle you start, it's out of convenience. Sometimes you can corner yourself into that. I've seen a lot of people when they tilt a side hustle, it's sometimes better to take sideway approach and then move up. Thinking about using the side hustle when you're running that, realize what is the challenge I'm facing? What is the skill set I wish I gained that I couldn't get from the side hustle? And maybe go out and work in a non-fast-growing company. I've seen people in the traditional business, the side hustle that's really good, but they're like, well, I don't really know technology, I don't really know marketing, I don't know how to sell the product. Sometimes it's actually better to keep the side hustle and go out to the world and get a startup job so you get those experience. You think like a founder, and you can maybe use your startup's idea or product to solve your current problem. So all these other failures is just part of the learning. Now, if you do have this question, like most people thinking, should I go full-time? Should I not go full-time? It's not about should you or not. Everyone who is starting a business have a hope that you will end up well or do something well. So it's a matter of when, how you get there. I guess it's about getting to a situation where you are in a right mindset to take on new challenge. You are in a financial situation to take a risk. You are getting the support system either from your family or your loved ones to support you, because entrepreneurship is up and down. When you're ready, don't overthink. Jump to it. Try it. Part 4 is for startup funders who want to scale. So if you're already running a startup, but now you want to grow into a big company, this is very exciting. Here's how to scale smartly. Oftentimes what I see here is when funders go out the funder-led growth mode or the funder-led growth sales mode, the biggest bottleneck usually is a funder. Because the funders sometimes is too attached to the work they're doing, or like they have ridiculous high standard of quality requirement. Things has to be done specific way. I think this most important thing is at this point, don't let yourself be the bottleneck. for your team. Figure out a way to scale it and delegate to your leaders. Sometimes you gotta let it go. The baby is too big to be in the cradle. That is relevant to the second point I want to talk about hiring. Hiring is pretty tricky. We have some great success hiring and some not so great success in my many years of experience. Most common mistake is like you're growing and maybe you raise a nice amount of money from some famous VCs, and then VCs want to upgrade your talent, and then they will introduce you to your head of sales that used to work at Salesforce or HubSpot, or head of product used to work in this Fortune 500 companies. What I see is those hires usually don't work out well. I mean, with some exceptions, but it depends on what your stage is. If you are like a Series A company, you raise some money and you're trying to grow from 20, 30 employees to 200 employees. These people are so used to this large company facility where they have everything done for them, and they're basically like conductors. They direct this employee to do this, that employee to do that. So it's probably not a good fit. And the second thing is, besides the skill sets, culture fit is also very important. As you're growing the company, the ordinary core team, the culture is going to emerge. And if you have someone who's very toxic in the culture, that is probably not gonna help you evolve what you are wanting to do. Also yourself, you gotta think from like doer of day-to-day tasks to be a founder, to be the CEO who are thinking about a long-term vision. So I think if you have opportunity to surround yourself with kind of a network of other founders or like executive coach, that will actually help you get a perspective. Sometimes you can feel a bit guilty that I didn't do good enough, but then when you talk to other founders, that this is common. Everyone has this problem. This is called a growing pain. It's a good thing, it's a positive. Look at the positive way. At this point, you're scaling the business. You probably have a repeatable revenue model where you're solving this problem with this product and you are selling to this target audience in this. Now you need to make it into a repeatable, scalable way. And how do you scale your operations to achieve your operational efficiency? So now instead of doing like one person and doing one thing manually and doing things, you build system to repeat your success, making it successful so the new hires coming in that will have an existing track to follow. So at this time, you're going to hire a lot of employees to grow your business. And if your house is a mess, it's a lot of painful for people to come in and grow it. So establish systems and then set up proper training for new hires. Another thing I can't stress enough is your go-to-market strategy. How do you scale your go-to-market strategy for repeatable customer acquisition? You're going from the founder-led growth to letting a team repeat your success and deliver the same quality of a product and service and make it scalable. So I would say just hire the right people and build system to do it. Don't let yourself be the bottleneck of it. Last part, if you're a woman and you want to become an entrepreneur, let's have a chat about this. The first impression when people think about female CEOs or female founders, like women has difficulty raising money. For example, in 2024, startup funded solely by women received only 2.2% of the capital. But if you count female male co-founder startups, slightly better, it represents 14.8% of total capital. And then if you look at Fortune 500, number of women CEO is also very little, only about 10%. But the data also shows that VCs investing in women-led companies have better return than male ones. I have heard a lot of people suggest women funders to look for investors who has previously invested in women and just ignore those doesn't. I don't think that way because maybe those people didn't get a chance to invest in that. And I also think don't take yourself too seriously. Like, I'm a female founder. You're just a great funder. That's it. Period. No female. Cut that out. And then when you are doing fundraising, you being a woman really don't make a difference. Investors invest monies because they want to make a return. They want to see if they can trust you and make a return for their LPs. So they're not going to say, oh, because you're a woman, so you're not going to make more money for us. That's silly. What I'm trying to say is these reasons of women not getting enough funding, not enough women in the market shouldn't be our reason not to start a business. It should be our reason to start a business because the number of women becoming entrepreneur is growing significantly. So data shows that women entrepreneurs have grown by 41% year over year. So outpacing their male counterpart by 25%. And women now owns about 34% of all small business and franchise in the United States. So there are a lot of people out there. Maybe you haven't heard it, but there are a lot of us female founders, CEOs out there, and the current technology environment provide a perfect breeding ground for female founders. I oftentimes hear people saying a male will apply for a job when they're only 20% qualified, and a woman might not even apply for a job when they are 100%. Gender, where you come from, who you were, doesn't define who you are. You should be confident, go out and own it. This is a problem I want to solve. I'm going to do this startup. I'm going to go through all the difficulties and make it successful. And I think is like, where's the real difference between a male and women entrepreneurs? Honestly, my personal thing is, I don't think there's much a big difference in the gender gap. The true difference is motherhood. If you are a mother, there are a lot of time, energy you have spent with the family. That becomes the true differentiation on that. Many people say, when you are a founder and woman CEO, you cannot have work-life balance. I mean, you can't think about work-life balance like that. You can't think about sacrifice where you're thinking, because I want to do the entrepreneurship, I cannot be a mother or I cannot do this. My experience after being in startup 15 years and a mother of 2, I can tell you is you can't have everything at the same time. You can't have like a good work life and then personal life, being a good mother and look presentable, look fit. Like you can't have all of it, just not at the same time. So some phase of your life, you will focus on growing the business, spending more time in the business. And in some phase where things are getting a little bit under control, you hire new people to take on some of your responsibilities. Then you spend more time in families. And sometimes you will combine a little bit about work or leisure. So as a woman, you just kind of be more resourceful, figure out how to get this different bits of life, work life, not at the same time, but take turns. And then I can also say it's never more important to take care of yourself. Self-care is very important. Sometimes because you're juggling many things on your plate, you can feel guilty and feel like I'm not good. I feel like I'm not 100% at work. I'm not 100% at this. Don't make it too hard for yourself. We're not superwomen, okay? Try your best. And when you are focusing on the work 100% in it, be resourceful, make it very efficient. And also there's a misconception that entrepreneurs will work 16 hours and then they don't take care of themselves. I think that might be like certain phases or when they are like in their 20s sleeping on the couch. But like in general, in order to be sustainable, you've got to take care of themselves. I talk to almost all the founders. Most of them have the habit of sleeping 8 hours and then have a habit of some kind of workout. So I found that I started doing more of the healthy life habit in order to be a founder, because starting a business is a marathon mentally and physically and intelligently. If you're weak in any part, you just can't keep up. Maybe like before you're thinking about getting entrepreneur, get yourself in a good condition where you are mentally, physically, intelligently ready to take on a new challenge. And again, don't make it too hard for yourself. For example, if you are doing a meeting, you could do a walking meeting. You're enjoying the learning, you're enjoying in building great companies, and you're enjoying solving great problems for the world. Now you know exactly what it takes to build and scale your startup, whether you're just getting started or ready to raise millions of dollars in funding. But there's one thing that can make or break your startup: market research, which used to be super difficult, expensive, and time-consuming. You either had to spend thousands on agencies or waste months doing manual research. But with the rise of AI, you can now do market research in a fraction of the time, for a fraction of cost, and get even better data to build your product and marketing strategy. So if you're curious how to do that, check out my next video where I'll show you exactly how to leverage AI to get your startup off the ground faster with less expensive and better insights for your big decisions. I will see you over there.